Hi guys, welcome back. Invisigoth here with you, doing an after-the-fact commentary. Like I said, I wanted to focus just on gameplay when I was playing, so I'll talk a little bit about what I'm doing as I go, but this is being done after the speedrun, and hopefully it won't be too spoiler-rich. So what I'm doing here is making a map and then looking at it to activate it, and then making a zoomed in version, zoomed in version, zoomed in version until I get 4 times zoom, which is the biggest map. It's 2048 blocks on a side, so a little over 2 kilometers. And I'll be using this to sort of get the lay of the land as well as to locate my stronghold once I get to that point where I can actually go hunt for it. And this uses up some of my miscellaneous materials that I've had laying around. So, yeah, getting some more armor and a bucket. I think that completes my set of iron armor. And I should be able to use that most of the way through. I think I replace a few items right before I go to the dragon, but throw in some eggs just on the off chance I can get an extra chicken. That wouldn't hurt. I'm going to be hard up for feathers and hard up for feathers. Meat is not as much of an issue, but it wouldn't be bad to get some more chicken meat. And through this whole thing, you can sort of control how often you get flint. I mean, it doesn't drop every time you dig gravel, unless you have looting 3 on your shovel, which I don't, clearly. So you can get a steady stream of flint. Getting a steady stream of feathers is another thing entirely. Now, if I had gotten a skeleton spawner, that would be a whole different ballgame. I would have just completely ignored chickens and flint. I would have basically spent all day farming skeletons for experience and arrows, and all night getting endermen. And hopefully one of these days I'll get that, and that'll substantially reduce the time of a speedrun, for sure. You can get 3 stacks of arrows. I mean, I don't know. If you make a good grinder and it's maximum size and it's nice and dark, you might be able to get 3 stacks of arrow in a day. I haven't really timed it as such, but it's up there. So, hunting endermen yet again. This would be the night on... I don't know how exactly, but I think this is night 4. But don't quote me on that. It's hard for me when I'm doing the commentary. They don't show me the actual time of the video itself. But we're like an hour and 40 minutes in. So, and I did have a little bit of an intro at the beginning. So, yeah, man, it would be the night of day 4, I think. And I don't know how many pearls I have, ender pearls I have at this point, but it's not a lot. It is already short of my quota. I have sort of an unofficial expectation of about 2 ender pearls a night minimum, and I don't think I've even hit that at this point. Yeah, I certainly don't have 8 ender pearls right now. I think I have like 3 or 4, which is at this point in the speed run, that's a really bad sign. And that's certainly a large part of the reason this ended up taking almost 4 hours. But, you know, that's Minecraft for you. It's random. It's pseudo-random for all you computer geeks out there. But you just gotta deal with what you get. And hopefully, if you have a general enough strategy, which I think this is, I mean, I can, for the most part, always get to the end of the game. It's just a question of how lucky I'm going to get, and can I take advantage of those intermittent strokes of luck. So, and just in an attempt to really milk this for all it's worth, I've gone on the other side of the river to the second area of desert, around the second desert temple, and I seem to recall this not being a particularly successful night of Enderman hunting. And once again, I don't know that there's really anything you can do about that at all. I could have wandered around in the nearby plains more, I guess, but basically, if I'm starting at my spawn point, or my little base, if you want to call it that, the place where my crafting table and my furnace are, if I go from there, I run back and forth across the desert area that's near me, then I cross the river and go back and forth on the desert area that's farther away. Hey, watch out for that cactus, dummy. I don't know that that's any better or worse than spending that same time going across plains biome. I don't get the impression that Endermen spawn more often there. So, really, it seems like it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. But when you don't find the Enderman, then you start getting like weirdly superstitious. Like, maybe I should go back to the places where I saw Enderman previously. And even though there's no evidence, I don't think that that matters at all. But, yeah, I mean, again, I'm essentially spending half the game at this point just, where's the Enderman, where's the Enderman, where's the Enderman? And I'll go ahead and say right now that for those of you who maybe are not fans of me bunny hopping across the desert like this, A, I get bored real easily, but B, more importantly, it does actually make it at least easier to see things. I have spotted Endermen when I was jumping that I wouldn't have seen if I was just sprinting on flat ground. And this is totally, not confirmed. This is just totally my own gut impression. I get the feeling that I am able to dodge skeletons' arrows a little bit better if I'm hauling ass and bunny hopping. Now, from a resource standpoint, running and jumping does make you more hungry than just sprinting alone. So that is something I'm well aware of, and you could argue that that is not a good use of resources. Like right here, I'm not really seeing anything. Well, I guess right there I was dodging an arrow, but I did try and minimize the bunny hopping. Bouncing around like a Tigger. And I tried to really restrict it mostly to situations where someone's shooting an arrow at me, or situations where I'm trying to see over and farther and trying to catch a glimpse of an Enderman, around obstacles. I'll be honest with you, I probably spent a good chunk of time jumping when I didn't need to, when I didn't meet those criteria, but, I don't know. That's the way I am. I am definitely aware of the fact, though, that it's a strain on my resources, and if you wanted to be strict about it, jumping only when necessary would maybe make it so you need a little less food. As it turns out, I had more food than I needed for the speedrun anyway, and it was a long speedrun, so I guess I'm not worried about the food issue. I mean, for the feathers alone, you're probably guaranteed to get, roughly, I don't know, say 48 feathers and 48 chicken meat, and that's a lot of food. That's a lot of food. I did eat some beef and some pork, and I may have found some like miscellaneous stuff like apples and bread here and there, but for the most part I was eating chicken. And since I had to hunt the chickens anyway, why not? I do wish I had remembered there's a ton of reeds over here, and then a ton of reeds coming up in front of me that I totally forgot about. I was running around all over the place looking for reeds to make my map when I should have, made a mental note as I went past these to get the reeds, but no big deal. Sure. I mean, as you can see, I'm so unconcerned about food that that pig has survived for, 4 days now. So 4 ender pearls so far. Not great on the 4th day. Not, well, I guess this might be the beginning of the 5th day now. I think, yeah, that sounds about right. So yeah, that sucks. I mean, that is absolutely unfortunate. There's no good way. I mean, once you're in the hole, all you can do is just keep doing what you're doing. I guess I don't know if I'd call it a downside of this plan, but I think I've pretty much, as long as I'm out, and admittedly I missed a few minutes, probably total maybe 2-3 minutes of nighttime that I could have been hunting Enderman. I got distracted, especially when I found the diamonds. But it really, for all intents and purposes, I mean, if it's 4 full days, that is, what, 40 minutes of night? And I hunted Enderman for like 38 of that. So that's not bad. And you would think that that would yield more than 4 ender pearls, and you would be wrong in this case. It's just the way it is. And I'm sure some eagle-eyed viewer out there will say, hey, episode 2 at 10 minutes and 32 seconds, there was an Enderman that you missed. And yeah, I'm sure I did. I was just basically scrambling to get every Enderman I could. But then again, sometimes if they're towards the horizon and they're stars, you can't actually necessarily see them as well as you might. And I'm sure changing the brightness might help that as well as, Anyway, it's not a perfect system, but I think it's a system that gets me the most Endermen in the quickest and easiest way possible, which is just how I do things in Minecraft. Now, you'll notice, I mean, when I dug these earlier, all this sand fell. I want to make absolutely sure that anything I stand on down here is not going to fall. I do not trust the sand, not a bit, not even a smidge. Until there's a block update, which this water is a block update. So the sand that I just stepped on is safe. If it wasn't safe, it would have fallen in. So what I'm doing here is kind of making sure, I'm trying to go to the edge and make sure that there's no lava under the blocks that I'm digging. Now the block I think I'm just digging right there could have had lava in it, so I'm crouching and being careful, but it's better to not have to worry about it. I mean, you can mine obsidian even if it's over lava, it can easily be done, but in hardcore mode, why take the risk? Just confirm whether there's lava or not. If there is lava, slap a cobblestone block under there. I just don't want to take the risk. I don't want to lose the obsidian and spend another, 20, 30 seconds digging an extra one. And I certainly don't want to even be close to falling in a lava hole. So it's just not worth it. So I need exactly 14 obsidian. 10 for the portal and 4 for the enchanting table. And now that I've got the diamond pickaxe, I need 2 more diamonds, plus the 4 obsidian for the enchanting table. And I also need a book, so 1 leather and 3 reeds, but I think I did that earlier, so I have the book ready to go. And I've used reeds to expand my map as much as I can, so that's all the use I have for reeds in this entire game. And we should be able to get out to the nether fairly quickly. I've already made a flint and steel. I've got decent armor. I could certainly fight a few blazes. Blazes, in all truth, if you find a spawner, particularly a spawner that is not open to the sky, you can kill those guys quick. It's really not that bad. When I first fought them, when they were first introduced, I was like, oh, this is crazy. This is way too hard. Turns out after you kind of get used to them and you can read them and say, okay, well, that guy's about to shoot some, flaming projectiles or whatever. It's not that bad. And considering, again, 8 blaze rods is all I could conceivably need. That would cover 16 Eyes of Ender to make 16. It would cover 16 Ender pearls, which would then be made into Eyes of Ender. So I don't think I've ever gotten 16 Ender pearls in a speed run. I always just give up after 15 and just cross my fingers and hope. So there's your obsidian. There's everything I need to get to the nether and everything I need to get to the point where I can enchant stuff. I think what I was doing here was heading back out to get some chickens that I had seen over on the, I guess, is that north edge? I think the north edge. Once again, you gotta be getting arrows the whole time. Even if you were to find a skeleton grinder right before you went to the end, if you hadn't been farming, or not farming, but gathering feathers along the way, you'd have to spend like, I don't know, maybe an hour at a skeleton grinder. Do that in a day. Well, not that long, but maybe 20, 30 minutes. And it's not counting, digging out the spawner and setting it up so that it's, dark and going back and forth in it. Hey, lava, surface lava, that's cool. Wish I would have known that before I found the other lava. Surface lava is surprisingly common, especially in deserts and plains, because once again, they're flat, there are no trees, it's just easier to find them. They're more obvious. And it's less likely that they'll be buried inside of a hill or something, because there aren't any... there are hills in plains and deserts, the technical biome, hills added to desert or plains biome, but it's usually not anything drastic. So if there's a big pool of lava, it's usually pretty obvious where it is at first glance. Now in an extreme hills biome, your guess is as good as mine. You could have a lava pool that's 20 blocks higher than the one we just saw, and you would still walk right past it and never know it was there. Okay, so I got plenty of chicken. Let's get some more chicken. And hunting the chicken is a bit tedious, although they're very common in plains biomes as well as forest. But the good thing is you get 48 feathers. You've got a lot of arrows. That's a lot. I'm not terrible with a bow. I can aim pretty decently, but I do have trouble sometimes. I probably average about 2 arrows per crystal in the end. So if there are 20 crystals, there's 40 arrows right there. So you're basically using the better part of the first stack of arrows before you even get to the dragon. And I always shoot it from the ground. I don't bother trying to go up. It's just too dangerous. You could conceivably keep an eye on the dragon and shoot him when he got too close, but for my money, I'd rather just, figure out where the dragon is, get to the main landmass, and just avoid the dragon, shoot the towers for a while, shoot the dragon a little bit, but kind of keep an eye on where the beams are coming from that are healing him, and then finish off those last few stragglers. There may be a better way to fight the end dragon, but I'm not aware of it. So feel free to post if you have information on that. I'd love to hear any tips or tricks. Always open to constructive criticism and ways I can improve the playthrough, for that matter, as well as the commentary. So I've got my enchanting table. I've got 24 levels to spend. The highest level enchantment you can get with an enchanting table that has no bookcases is 8. I was back and forth as to whether I should throw away that diamond. Oh, I guess I actually ended up using it to make a shovel. I just can't bear to throw away a diamond after... I mean, I've harvested so many diamonds, it's ridiculous. I played on a friend's multiplayer server, and I think I ended with about 4.5 stacks of diamond block. Not diamonds, mind you. 4.5 stacks of diamond block. It's a lot of diamonds, my friends. So yeah, I've got a little bit of experience in that department. So I can enchant 3 things. So I just try this. And this is the interface I was talking about. This is crazy. This is just so frustrating that once... I mean, even though I'm in the range, I still have to put in the item, look, doesn't have the level I want, I take it out, put it in again, repeat, put it in again, repeat, put it in again, repeat. Why doesn't it just default to 8 and let you dial it back if you want 4 or 3 or whatever? That makes no sense to me. I think this interface is kind of half-baked. That said, I actually like the enchantment system itself, and I know a lot of people disagree with it, but I really don't mind it. I think it works pretty well for what it is, and I like that they added it to the game. Same with brewing, for that matter. I like that they added it. I don't necessarily use the brewing as much. I definitely enchant my items. The one thing that really puzzles me about enchantment is not the types of enchantments or anything like that. It is, and this is something I don't think most people are aware of. I believe when they first rolled this thing out, enchantments basically were better on materials in the traditional order of materials. So, you know, a stone sword would have less chance of getting a good enchantment than an iron sword. And I don't know, maybe even back then gold was the most enchantable as opposed to diamonds, but I looked at the wiki a month or 2 ago and realized that you've got sort of an enchantability index, with the higher number being more enchantable, and gold has 25. I think it's a little bit different between weapons and armor, but within reason, or just oversimplify. Hello, cactus. Not real smart. And a skeleton. And I have literally lost ender pearls on cacti, so you got to be careful about that too. Boy, talk about feeling robbed there. But it turns out that the enchantment of materials is more complicated than people would think. And again, this is something you would never know unless you went and read the wiki. You just absolutely cannot determine this for yourself just by trial and error. So you've basically got, and for the purpose of this, I'm going to ignore stone and wood, but you've basically got an enchantability index of about 25 for gold, and that's highly enchantable. And then next below that, oddly enough, and I guess this was armor now that I think about it, so gold armor has an enchantability of about 25, I think. And leather armor, oddly enough, has an enchantability of about 15. And then between iron, chainmail, and diamonds, it's right around 10, like 9 to 12. So diamond armor is less enchantable than leather armor. I guess, based on what I read, you're more likely to get a great enchantment on leather armor than you are on diamond armor, which does not make a lot of sense to me, but maybe the idea is to make leather, and I know it certainly is the case with gold, maybe the idea was to make that material a little more useful, because it wasn't terribly useful otherwise. But yeah, I kind of feel a little, I mean, as a player, I kind of feel a little bit gypped that I'm making diamond armor and finding out that is only going to get me basically the same enchantment as I would get with iron, or very close to it. If you look at the math, I think they're very close. And if I'm missing something here and someone else understands this more intimately, please post a comment and straighten me out, because, you know, all this is subject to checking the wiki, and I could be wrong. But that's my understanding of it at this point. So check out the wiki as far as enchantment mechanics and decide for yourself. Again, if someone has more information, I'd love to hear it. I always appreciate learning more things about how this all works, because that just helps me as a player, and it helps me certainly with the speedruns. So it's all good. Enderman, looking for an Enderman, revealing my map a little bit. I should have actually done quite a bit more of revealing my map, but basically it doesn't matter a whole lot, because once I'm ready to go for the stronghold, I just grab everything. I grab all my stuff, anything that's useful, and I just head out in the direction the Ender Pearl goes, and I try and use the map to estimate how far is, you know, that 600 to 1200 range, so that I can start to bisect it. I think I came along the swamp here pretty much every night, and I don't think once I saw an Enderman in that swamp. I don't know why not. I mean, I get the impression that animals certainly spawn at different rates in different biomes. I don't know about the mobs, though. There's an awful lot of bad guys in the desert biome. So let's see, what other factors are there in a speedrun? I mean, really, you know, you've got food, of course. As long as you get some sort of food, that's great. I've seen people that grow wheat. I can't see that being viable. I really can't. I mean, if I've got to hunt chickens for feathers, regardless, and I do, unless you literally have a skeleton dungeon with a skeleton spawner right off the bat, you have no choice but to hunt down and murder every chicken in your vicinity. So that gives you a fair amount of meat right there, and if you pick up some miscellaneous meat as you go, that's probably sufficient for, I mean, again, this is a 4-hour speed run, and anybody doing it in half that time would need to have as much food. So alrighty, I got a guy across the river. Now this gets into some interesting mechanics as far as how Endermen pursue. What I'm trying to do here is get a little bit further away. He's mad at me. He's agitated, but he won't teleport over to me. And I think it was originally the case that they would teleport. They'd accidentally teleport in the water, and they would die, and their Ender Pearls would end up in the water, which would be great. But somehow they stopped that behavior. And so now this guy can't quite get to me. Sometimes in the past, in similar situations, they have teleported to me, but for whatever reason, this guy was stuck. He was aggro. He definitely agitated and ready to kill me, but he refused to teleport. So, and I think by this point, although I wasn't making note of it at the time, there's also been several situations where I would literally get this close to an Enderman and then start building my bitch shelter, and then I'd turn around and he was already gone. Just randomly teleported down to a cave or whatever. Now I could see that this guy sort of headed off in this direction, but at this point, I'm probably not going to catch him. So this would be, what are we talking here? So this has got to be sun up on the 5th day? Maybe? I mean, we're at almost 2 hours total, but I know at this point I'm about 10 minutes. I mean, the number that you see on your screen is about 10 minutes behind what I have here on my stopwatch. So I think it's the 5th day. At dawn, it's almost impossible to kill an Enderman. Between I mean, the sun coming up and them turning non-aggro, and then they just teleport like crazy after sunup. And then at some point they'll just disappear. I'm not even sure whether, I guess sometimes they teleport down to a cave, but other times they just disappear in the same way a creeper disappears sometime midday-ish, most of the time, maybe. So, once the sun is fully up, once you are no longer in the sun-up period, you're not going to find any more Endermen. It's pretty much just over. So, head into ye old... No, I misspoke just now. I think it's the sun up on the 6th day. Because that's going to be... Yeah. Yep. That'll be the last day for the second hour. So, dicking around with the render distance, I found you gotta have a render distance of far to really locate fortresses effectively. My hat is off to anybody who can do this without far render. I'm running on a 64-bit system, but unfortunately I have an older Alienware machine. It's got a PCI Express 1 slot, and I have a PCI Express 3 card. GeForce GTX 680. It's a great card. It's probably as much card as my computer can handle, especially trying to run Minecraft and the Fraps software, the video recording software. It hasn't burst into flames yet, but it's pushing it. So, apologies if this does not... It's a little bit choppy, and especially when it's rendering new chunks, it can be a little bit rough and a little bit choppy, but it is an unfortunate necessity. So I'm kind of poking around here looking for any evidence of a fortress. Usually I see the upright supports before I see anything else, so I usually look down in the lava to see if I can see any of those. And what I'm going to do here is just basically poke my head around, see if I can see anything, and if I can't, I'll start digging and try and get to a new place where I can look around and just keep going until I see nether brick, basically. I'll be honest with you, this particular... Well, actually, let me go ahead and wrap up this episode at this point, because there's a lot of exciting digging coming up, but there's really nothing awesome here. I'm just looking around and for the most part, at least at this point, not finding anything. So, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.